Excellent. As mentioned, good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're from. So my name's Dan Hill. I'm one of the co-founders of SpecTraining Education, and we have been delivering TAE products now for well over 14 of our 15 years in existence. So it's with a lot of fanfare that we introduce the new version of the Diploma of Vocational Education. So let's have a look at where we came from. It's been a little over 7 years since we saw the launch of the TAE16. Along with that training package came two diplomas, the 50116 and the 50216 qualifications. So these were squarely aimed at practitioners of training and assessment and training development, respectively. With a little creativity, we came up with combining the two and offering the first ever dual diploma for vet professionals. This is what we saw over the last 5 years of that particular qualification. So Diploma of Vet averaged around 5,500 students annually. And this is from a sector that steadily employs around 51,000 people as trainers. The Diploma of Trained Design averaged almost 9,300 people per year in enrollments, where people employed as both trainers and or development professionals made up a larger pool of around 206,000 according to the ABS. For the dual diploma, that was both combined, those figures are included. So as a dual diploma, we saw the large majority combine the skills and knowledge into that one program. And at the time, it contained 10 units of competency, of which 2 could be credited from the current Cert 4, leaving just 8 units required to complete 2 diplomas. This was a no-brainer for many people, but the statistics didn't support this, with only a fraction of TAE enrollments that we saw being for this program compared with, say, the TAE skill sets, upgrades, and of course, the good old Cert 4 program. So we believe that this is a bit of a clear sign that the pathway needed for improving it needed to be more relevant to the actual professional needs of vet educators. So that's what the Skills Council went to work on. The new diploma replaces both of those diplomas, but it's not deemed equivalent, and you'll see for obvious reasons. Firstly, we now have 3 specializations of 12 units each. So it's very important if you're going to study this to select the appropriate one to your area of interest. So let's run through them based on these interests. We'll start with the first, which is if you're in a training assessment professional, option 1 will be for you. So if your career pathway includes things like being a facilitator, coach, trainer, or even a professional assessor, then this is the most logical choice for you. In this qualification, we've created 5 clusters to focus in on the real skills needed for vet trainers and assessors in 2024 and beyond. First one here will include the core units, okay? So there are 3 core units in this qualification. Doesn't matter which specialization you choose. So these first 2 design units are core units. The next unit here is the professional development unit called Maintain and Enhance Professional Practice. That is also a core unit. So that makes up the first 3. So then come with us on this little journey for the vet professional trainers and assessors specialization. Because these people are going to be people who have experience, then they have the potential to lead and mentor other vet trainers and assessors. So we've included that unit as well. We get into the technical skills of facilitating e-learning and general facilitation. And then we move into the assessment cluster. So design and develop assessment tools will be an expanded version of the one completed in the Cert 4. I say expanded, they've put a few more levels of assessment in there. That is a requirement for this specialization. So there was no removing this one to make it easy for anyone, as is leading assessment moderation, developing RPL. So that's a big one. That's something the industry has been crying out for, and leading assessment. So researching and communicating with influence. With this last cluster, we've taken on feedback from large trainer employers. However, we do recognize that some people may wish to swap one or both of these out for other electives. And this is, of course, possible. And you'll see how we do this when we look at some of the other options in the other specializations. I'll just go back a slide for a second. You may have noticed that there are a couple here that have asterisks next to them. That simply means there is a prerequisite for the first time. The prerequisite is the Cert 4 level unit that applies. So for leading assessment, it would be undertaking or conducting assessment. And for leading training facilitation, it would be conducting facilitation. So They're the two prerequisite units. So anyone with a Cert 4 will have those because they were a standard. So if your role is or will be to ensure the quality of training and assessment materials, so ensuring that they're of the highest quality, or that the methods used to develop them are in line with the latest educational advancements, then this is obviously the specialization for you. Again, we're going to start with the core units. So if you're creating outstanding content and assessments, if you're developing those engaging learning experiences, if this is your trajectory, then this is a specialization, as I mentioned, for you. So we've created a cluster of 4 units in the design field to start with that are most obvious to this job outcome. As I go through these, I'll just bring them all out and then give you our reasoning behind it. The PDD unit, again, maintain professional practice is a core, so that's why that's in there. Assessment, designing and developing assessment tools, and then developing plans for RPL. For anyone in design within a vet context, these are incredibly important. So we thought these were, again, a no-brainer for this particular specialization. We then took a bit of a left turn and looked at the business qualifications that would most suit people undertaking design and development. So we talked about innovation. Innovation and creativity go hand in hand. So this particular unit from the BSB training package, Establish Innovative Work Practices, has a large part of the content devoted to creativity. So I believe that's, again, a no-brainer, as is continuous improvement, which looks at the innovations and how you put them into the normal work practices of your job role. And finally, we put in here evaluate and review compliance. It'll be interesting to get your feedback on this, but evaluating and reviewing compliance so that once you've created your content or your assessments, you can review them under the compliance framework to make sure they are valid, reliable, etc., and they meet all the requirements of any vocational education. So the third one is vet leadership. I love this one for obvious reasons. If you're a leader in the vet industry, if you've been around for a while, you want to get into a management role, or you're already in a management role, then this is definitely one that works for you. Vet leadership is a broad category, but as practitioners of this ourselves, we've created what we believe is a balanced mix of TAE and business units that reflects the broad roles of vet managers. We stick to our core units, we need them, leading and mentoring vet teachers, establishing innovative work practices again, but have a look at some of these soft skills we've put in here because it's so important if you're managing others. Developing and using emotional intelligence, communicating with influence, managing people performance, and then we go a bit technical. We also look at training needs analysis, leading a quality audit to make sure what's in place within your organization is of the highest quality and meets the requirements of compliance, which is the next unit. And finally, that good old research unit. It keeps popping its head up. There is another reason for that. There is feedback from government employees, especially, that they want that unit. But if you don't want that unit, this is why we look at the alternatives. You could just easily swap that out for leading assessment, moderation, and validation, or the also sought after LLN unit. As we are also providers of leadership and management qualifications, we've also developed 2 other leadership units. In this case, it's the lead and manage effective workplace relationships and also managing your personal and professional development, which works in really closely with the PDD unit to an extent where there would be little double up in work. So I've just written in front of me here that they overlap with the TAE unit, so it can be seamlessly included into your curriculum. Optional units will have all available as of April, but you'll see our launch pathway in a moment. So how do we do all this? We use a very simple theory of learning, which is the learn, apply, reflect methodology. You will meet, if you enroll in one of these programs, you will meet with your online coach and discuss the program. You'll develop your learning strategy and schedule. You'll develop it with them and access the learning resources in accordance with that schedule. Step 1. Step 2, of course, is applying it. So again, discuss with your coach ways of applying your learning in the workplace. This is a practitioner's qualification. Doing this in a classroom would be impossible. You'd need to do so much or take so much back to your workplace that doing it this way, we believe, is the right way. Gather your evidence while you work. And finally, and if you're in a learning professional of any kind, you'll know that this is where that learning really takes a hold and is set in concrete. So use feedback from your peers, your employers, students, and your coach to refine your skills. Reflect on your various learning opportunities to cement them into your new knowledge and skills. Additionally, we throw another learning theory in there called interlacing. So you may choose 2 units at a time if they're complementary skills. For example, leading, training, and assessing. So those two would go together. Or leading audits and evaluating compliance. Those two could easily go together. Or designing print-based and e-learning resources. Again, would go together. This will obviously speed up the completion of your qualification if you achieve the learning outcomes within the scheduled timetable. So let's look at the resources. Very proud of these. So the new online resources, SpecTraining, have created modern video-based learning tools to walk you through not only the knowledge components of your diploma, but how you might apply these skills that you learn along the way. So here's a quick look at the learning management system. The online learning platform includes the Moodle LMS. This is one of the world's most trusted platforms for online study and brings a very intuitive layout to your learning content and assessments. We've embedded into that the video-based Tutor LMS platform. This is for our video tutorials that lead you through not only the content, but also provide assessment guidance. So it's been designed so that you have access to everything you need to complete your study. Access to your online coach can be directly through the online forum or via virtual catch-ups where needed. So this is an enhancement to our previous mentoring model that we ran for our old diploma, and we believe it will result in the best transfer of skills to your workplace and therefore for your career. And yes, you'll notice that these have been sped up, these videos, so you do have control over the speed. And it wouldn't work without the best online coaches. So I'm very proud of our team. So the SpecTraining team represents the best of the best in TAE training. Everyone here is qualified at the diploma level or above with decades of collective experience. Your online coach is a practicing vet professional with real world experience and practices. So they'll enhance your learning journey. They'll be on hand at each of the 2024 induction sessions. So you'll be matched with the coach that best suits your selected specialization. So there's a lot of real deep-seated skill amongst the people in our team. So I didn't mention the word intakes. This is new for us. We normally just have a rolling, just whenever you want, you can start. We're going to improve that phenomenally with some intakes. It'll improve the experience that you have as a diploma student. So our first intake is only a few weeks away, January 9th. All enrollments must be received by this date to commence in the first cohort. For the first half of 2024, we'll have 2 more intakes on March 5th and May 7th. So the last question most people have are about the fees and funding. So our diploma fees have not changed in 5 years. So we're committed to offering affordable quality education in 2024 as well. So this means that the cost or the unit cost will remain unchanged for 2024. Additionally, SpecTraining apply for any applicable national and state funding, but we do understand that states will support their local, private and government providers before allocating funds to interstate providers.